Holy shit, Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler talk happening right now. What is going on all my Spider-Man fans? I've just got back from seeing Spider-Man No Way Home for a second time, and holy shit, let me just tell you, it's even better the second time. This is an event move. Fuck! If I'm gonna be honest, I did not see the trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness when I saw it the first time. And I saw it now, and I was just like, yep, this is why this movie is an 11. Good. Seeing this movie just shows me that this is like the ultimate Spider-Man event movie. And I want to say right off the bat, I like where Spider-Man is at the end of this movie, because for the longest, people have just been complaining and talking about, oh man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, he's just so connected to the MCU. He's just so held back by being, like Tony Stark's, Spider-Man Jr. and shit. But now, like, the way they wrapped it up, and it's just all like, yeah, he's like fully on his own now. Like, he is gonna be like the Spider-Man in future Spider-Man or Sony's Spider-Man movie. I love that shit. Woo! Okay, first of all, let's address the elephant in the room right now. Let's just say it right now. Yes, Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield all shared the screen as Spider people. All three Spider-Men were in the movie, and it was just like, people were just like, fuck it, yes, I knew it. But it's one of those, like, the shit was so leaked and so hyped up for the longest that you're kind of just like, if they're not in the movie, I would actually be more surprised. But I like how they executed bringing them into the movie, and that's the important thing. Execution. Let's get into it. Let's get into my spoiler talk on Spider-Man No Way Home. I just saw the movie. It's fresh in my head, so I want to do this before I go to bed. And here we go. Let's talk about it. Okay, the movie opens up more or less right off the heels of Spider-Man Far From Home, where you really pretty much have, let me just say it a bit, fuck you, Mysterio. Mysterio out Spider-Man, and it's playing like through the Marvel Studio intro and the Sony Pictures intro and shit. And you got Spider-Man just like, what the fuck? Like, Mysterio, dude. The whole world knows my secret. Right, so like he swings over to MJ and they swing through the subway and shit, and he goes back to his house. Rookie move. Your identity ever gets revealed, you never go back to your house. You just don't. This is why you're Spider-Boy, but don't worry, at the end, you'll be Spider-Man. Pretty much like a public opinion for Spider-Man's at an all-time low. J. Jonah Jameson hates his guts, and it was good seeing my man J.K. Simmons back as J. Jonah Jameson. He's forever J. Jonah Jameson. Don't ever recast him. Peter Parker, MJ, Ned, and Hottie, they're just chilling out and shit, and the people are just, he gets arrested and everything like that, and they just like, you don't got no charges to throw down on us, then what the fuck are we doing here? And they kept saying all the time, you need a lawyer, get you a lawyer, get you a lawyer. That's pretty much code for like, okay, when is this, when is he coming? And sure enough, next scene, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, is in the movie. I think a lot of people went more crazy for that than Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but I know I did. I was like, shit, yes. And now it's like we finally have like a kind of Netflix crossover. Not really, because you're not doing the Netflix thing and shit, but it still happens. And it's just like, if you've seen a Hawkeye episode 5, you know that the Kingpin is coming. Now we got Matt Murdock, so it was just like, oh man, I wonder if they meant to set that up. So it's like, oh yeah, episode season finale happening the week after Spider-Man No Way Home. People are gonna see it, they're gonna see that connection and shit, and it's gonna be awesome. You see that scene where someone threw a brick and Matt just fucking caught it and shit? I was like, this is why you're the Daredevil, and I love you. The moral of this whole story, this whole dilemma, what gets this ball rolling is that, Peter Parker, Ned, and MJ and shit, they're trying to live sort of normal lives and everything like that, because kind of people are just like, yeah, he's Spider-Man, but, kind of life moves on. I mean, we were talking about a universe where people, half the universe got wiped out and shit. A kid being Spider-Man, that's gonna be news for like a couple days, and then we move on to the next shit, next alien invasion. We're moving on. But what really is the core is that Peter is trying to get into college and shit, and the other trying to get into college is just like they can't get in, and it's sort of like Peter feels responsible for that. And I like that angle he took. That's like his real reason. He's not doing this for himself. He's doing this for his friends. So that I appreciate. You shit. We do it for the family. But gets the idea. Let me go to Doctor Strange. And he'll just, Scooby-Doo this shit. No, they Scooby-Doo this shit. Just like, yeah, I know a guy who knows magic and shit. He can just erase everyone's mind. Men in Black style. So let me just go to Sanctum Sanctorum. And they go there, and we know, like, why there's snow and shit. That was explained. I also learned that Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme now. My damn phone. It was Wong, the Sorcerer Supreme, because, on a technicality, Doctor Strange did disappear for 5 years, so someone had to fill that gap, and it was Wong. I love Wong, so Who could they get? Wong is like, I'm peacing out. I got other shit to do. I got other things. So let me just see you later, Strange. But don't do that spell. It's forbidden spell and shit. Don't do it. And Doctor Strange is like, the kid's been through enough. Help me save the universe. I think I can give him a break. So they go down to the fucking, where the Crypt Keeper hangs out, whatever. He casting the spell and everything like that, and Peter Parker just fucking it up by being like, you know what? I want Ned to remember. I want MJ to remember. I want everybody to remember who I am, but not really. And Strange literally casting the spell, and every time he alters it, it's like, gotta make a new circle. Oh, you alter it, make a new circle, and there are too many circles, and it just spirals out of control, and he contains it, and he's just like, okay, yeah, just fuck off, because he tells him that. Why didn't you just call the college people? I didn't think of that, and he just tells him to fuck off. I say fuck off, but he told him to fuck off. So more or less, that's when we get to the bridge scene, and that's where Doc Ock is on the scene. Everyone's losing their minds. It's just like, shit, Dr. Octopus, us, he's back. I will say, when I'm looking back, I do feel like Alfred Molina kind of hammed up his parts a little bit, but he makes up for it towards the end of the movie, so this makes me be like, I don't care about that anymore, but it was good seeing him back again. And that fight on the bridge is insane, and when he grips him up and shit with his arms and the nanobots take over and shit, and it's just like, oh yeah, he's still using an Iron Man spider suit, so he's like, oh yeah, you got new Stark tech, you want to pair to it, Bluetooth style? He does that, and I was just like, it was funny. It's the MCU. We're gonna have humor. Just roll with it. More or less, the story is that all these other villains, not even villains, other people from other Spider-Man dimensions came to the MCU, and now it's like, we gotta kind of put them all back and shit because fabric of reality and all that other shit's gonna fuck up. I had to jump forward a little bit, just a little bit. I like when the Green Goblin comes in, and Willem Dafoe, he is just brilliant. Willem Dafoe is literally the catalyst of this whole shit. Because you remember, he's got the split personality and shit like that. So there's good Norman and there's, Goblin Norman. Did you see that reference to Spider-Man 2 when he fucking had the mask and shit shattered? Just walked away. That was a good callback. Now it's okay, Willem Dafoe, him and Aunt Hottie, they're chilling and shit. And they're like, oh yeah, we can help, cure these metahumans and shit, because in their universe, if Stephen Strange sends them back, they're gonna die if they die to Spider-Man. It gives Tom Holland a reason to be like, well, they shouldn't die. Everyone deserves a second chance, so let's try to cure them. And you do see that. I love that, because one, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Peter Parker himself made that little inhibitor chip and put it back in Doc Ock's arms and back in his head and fixed them and shit. No one else did that, so props to him being a genius, because Peter Parker is a genius. People been bitching we never got to see how fucking, smart he is and shit. And now you do. But just know the Green Goblin is just scheming and shit like that, so, because, you got Electro, Jamie Foxx, good seeing him back again, even though it was kind of yeah, I know I'm in a superhero movie and shit. None of this makes sense. I do love when other people come in the MCU, it's just you got wizards and you got fucking gods and purple aliens with magical stones and shit, just wiping half the universe out. None of this shit makes sense. Like I said, I love that contrast, because they come from a time where there wasn't all these crazy crossover, there wasn't no massive universe and shit. Everybody was just doing their own solo shit. And then Disney came and just changed the game. But then Green Goblin just realizes that, this is he just starts, doing the Green Goblin shit and everything like that. And more or less, Electro and Sandman, they just be like, we just want to be, villains, so we just fuck off and just blow the whole place up. Oh man, that was rough. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Oh man, it was rough. R.I.P. Aunt May. That was rough. The way that went down, because she got smacked by the Green Goblin's glider, and I was just like, she's just walking that off. Okay. But then it was like, oh god, shit, no. When she fell down, I was like, Aunt May, are you all right? You okay? Need some water? Need some Gatorade or something? Peter puts his hand up and she's bleeding and shit, and it's just like, oh god, no, she's dead. She just dies so peacefully, so quietly, and it was just like, you just feel the rage in Peter Parker's heart and soul, and it's just like, I feel that. Damn. Damn. A lot that gives Peter Parker the motivation to be like, yeah, I want to kill these people. That's what I want to do. But before we get to that, we cannot ignore Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man, because Doctor Strange's like, yeah, I'm going to send these people back to their own universe because I fixed that little magical cosmic cube and shit, and that'll send everybody back. And Peter's like, no, just give me time to, save him and shit. So he webs up the thing, and now you got Doctor Strange and Peter Parker going at it, and that was insane. First of all, like I said, he knocks him out of his body with natural form and shit, and the way he doesn't get the box through the spider sense, that was like, oh, that was great. I love that scene. And they got him going to the mirror dimension, and Doctor Strange using his portals and cape and shit. It was that whole scene. I just love, because I love magic. I love Doctor Strange. So the whole segment was just like, I could watch that on repeat anytime. I loved it. But then Peter Parker proved that math is more powerful than science and webs Doctor Strange up to the Grand Canyon and just like, I'm just gonna peace out and do the rest of the movie myself. See ya. So then, like I said, we get to the moment everyone was talking about, everyone was thinking about how it's gonna happen. You have Ned with a sling ring, just like, okay, I want to see Peter Parker. I want to see Peter. So he does the little circle and shit, and you see somebody in the background. You're like, is that Peter Parker? Who is that? And it's Andrew Garfield. And then, my auditorium went crazy. Like, oh my god, it was Spider-Man. I knew he was in it. It was one of those things. I'm like, I love that he's in the movie. I can't get that excited because it's just like, it was inevitable. It's like, it's something you knew, but you didn't want to admit you knew. You wanted to let the movie confirm it. And now that she's in the movie is awesome because he's Andrew Garfield. I liked him as Spider-Man. I liked him. So he still brought that humor. He was much more veteran and more aged because his movies did happen. And I do like that. Like, he's still got some baggage. He's damn it. And then they do it again. And this time it's Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, Peter Parker. And I like that it didn't DH him. I like that we have some seasoned veteran Spider-Man. Good, contrast to young Tom Holland Spider-Man. That was awesome. That was great. Got two Peter Parkers in the room, and then they ultimately meet up with Spider-Man, Peter Parker, MCU Peter Parker on the roof. And they start going about yeah, we lost somebody too. So we know what you're feeling because we are you. We've been on that path before. I've lost my Uncle Ben. He's lost his Uncle Ben. You've lost Aunt May, like your Uncle Ben. So we're all connected, man. Let's just all work together. And I just love that. Was just such a power moment. That was just like it's just full circle. It was a moment like that I was like, yeah, this is like the ultimate Spider-Man movie. The ultimate Spider-Man movie. And ultimate Spider-Man movie without some type of third act MCU carnage and shit. So now you got the three Spider-Man going up against the Sinister 2 because Sandman and Electro are coming in on the scene and wrecking shit like that. But it's just oh man, just seeing three Spider-Man just facing off and web swinging together and just doing their Spider-Man shit together. Like I said, the 8-year-old in me was just like, this is heaven and I love it. But then I'm at to fast forward a little bit because there's so much to unpack. It's going to take a couple videos, but one thing that man, Green Goblin gets back on the scene and shit, and Doctor Strange comes back on the scene too, and they come in because Goblin was more or less the reason why Aunt May died. So now, like, yeah, Peter Parker gets to that moment where he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna straight up kill you. After some cool cutscene fights and shit that would have been straight out of a PS4 game or PS5, he's about to kill him with the glider and shit, and then Tobey Maguire stops him and shit, and he doesn't say a word. Just like they just lock eyes, and Tom Holland just kind of just like snaps out of it. That was handled so perfectly. How cheesy would it have been if it was just like, he's got him like this, like, don't do this. You're better than this. Don't do it. Don't do it. It was just like, I like the version that we got in the movie where it was just like, just silent. Just like, let Tom Holland piece it together and be like, yeah, you're right, I'm going too far. And they handled that great. Then we get to the end of the movie, more or less, where Doctor Strange is like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this spell again, and no one's going to remember that Peter Parker is ever existed at all. You're just gonna be wiped clean slate off the map, off the MCU. We make the ultimate sacrifice, says goodbye to the other Spider-Man. He says goodbye to Ned and MJ. They embrace it, and that I was trying to hold the tears back because I was just like, this is too much, and I'm about to cry. This is too much. So Doctor Strange does the spell, wipes the board clean, and then he meets up at MJ's shop, and he sees Ned and MJ, and they just don't know him. He's just like, he got this paper like to tell him everything, like, yeah, I'm Peter Parker and I'm Spider-Man and shit. But he just does it because he just realizes that it's better for them. They got their happy lives, even if I'm not in it. So they just gotta be happy. And then the movie doesn't end off completely because now it ends with a full-fledged Spider-Man. He lives in his own little apartment shack that's crap, but he still owes rent. And he gets a new Spider-Man suit, does more his classic suit. That was awesome to see finally. It ain't Stark Tech. He made it by himself. So for all you haters, it's like, is he ever gonna get rid of the Stark Tech? So then he jumps off the roof and it's all awesome as he's Spider-Man. And then it's just, movie's over. And I'm like, But we got post-credit scenes because this is Marvel. So the first post-credit scene is Tom Hardy's Venom. We found out what he was doing and shit since we saw his movie in October. And he's just taking in the fact that, yeah, the MCU is pretty weird and crazy. You got Skrulls, aliens, gods. Fuck off. And then he disappears and shit. It's just like, oh, of course I'm going back to the Sonyverse in time for Morbius. Not before one of the little Venom goo gets left behind. So now it's like, we're gonna finally get Black Suit Spider-Man eventually. And then the final post-credit scene, which ain't even the post-credit scene, it's like a teaser for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I can't even get into that in this video because it's too long, but that was great too. Spider-Man No Way Home is officially in theaters. Have you seen it or are you gonna see it? Type below, let me know. Let's talk about it. Talk about your thoughts about this movie because there's so much to talk about. We're talking about Spider-Man all weekend, baby. Spider-Man No Way Home is out. Let's just get into this shit. See you guys in the next video, and as always, subscribe. Until next time.